Towards the end of every year, usually there are a lot of predictions about what the next year will look like. They can be growth, inflation, markets, crypto, geopolitics, whatever, right? Recently, I watched my own video on economic trends to watch for in 2025 for Singapore, and I have to say, it is very interesting. But since I already made that video with the intention to see how the trend is like at the end of the year, here we are. It covers quite a wide range of matters, I have to say, and if you haven't, you can watch it somewhere here or find a video in my channel. Trade wars, China slowdown, inflation, interest rates, crypto, yeah, you name it. Let's see what's unfolding in reality. But before that, I'm Daddy, and this is That Money Compass. So the first one, rockier Singapore in 2025. From what I see is it was said to be mainly because of escalating tariff wars between the US and China. But this is the interesting part. It doesn't seem to be affecting Singapore much yet, although there is an increasing chance depending on how these two big countries settle their differences. After all, Singapore is a trade-dependent economy. Any disruption between the big boys like the US, China, and Europe doesn't just stay, but it flows through supply chains as well, which means will affect Singapore too. As much as trade wars could shave at least 1 percentage point of GDP growth, apparently it is still reasonable and doesn't mean recession. It simply means slower growth, thinner margins, and more uncertainty, which sounds like maybe playing out gradually instead of suddenly within a few months. Hence, this is more like unfolding instead of happening now. Now, second one, crypto. Yes, the hype, maybe no longer the hype, but it is the main topic that has been happening throughout the year. So, in the previous video, it was basically about how crypto wasn't really recognized yet, as the regulations revolving around it were kinda against it, but we were seeing institutions rushing into it, especially early in the year when Trump was just elected. Lo and behold, and I gotta say, this probably has the biggest development yet. Since then, there has been a lot of rules and regulations changes that are now more pro towards it. More ETFs are coming out, more funds flowing into crypto. Crypto companies are developing more and more features for crypto and partnering left and right non-stop. Well, it may be a bit exaggerating, but one can't deny the fact that even more big, well-known influencers like Kevin O'Reilly starting to talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum. More countries are owning Bitcoin like they are scared of running out of food. You get what I mean? So ETFs, institutional custody, tokenized assets, regulated stablecoins, you name it. Crypto is not gonna be dead, at least during Trump's term. In fact, crypto is becoming the next financial infrastructure, seemingly. Yes, infrastructure. If you haven't, I recently made a video about crypto and explained more in depth about this. You can check it out somewhere around here. Alright, so the verdict. Crypto is gonna be more developed. Yes. So I have to say, initially there was skepticism during the prediction, but at this point, we are very sure that, crypto is definitely the thing, at least in the US. And a lot of other countries are kind of following suit right now. Third one, Bitcoin as digital gold. This one, well, I've touched on it on the previous point, but at some point, countries, big companies, smart people, smart money started to accept the fact that Bitcoin is like digital gold simply because of its scarcity. But of course, a thing is not valuable until more people are accepting it, and this is happening to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is increasingly behaving like a macro asset, a hedge narrative, a speculative store of value. But it still reacts strongly to liquidity, rates, risk, sentiment. Yes, because whenever it is risk off kind of thing, Bitcoin kind of down. Yeah, so I have to say at this point it's more of like still unstable despite all these people kind of preaching about it. So as much as more and more big boys are getting into this, a lot of the normies are still into cash. I mean, if Bitcoin is like digital gold, then you still can't use it, right, to pay your daily meal, can you? So one can say that the digital gold thesis is not proven yet, but it's not wrong either. The verdict, it is certainly developing. When will it end? When will it truly behave like digital gold instead of a speculative coin? Only God and time knows. Number 4, trade war escalation. This prediction was about trade wars that could escalate quickly across regions. Now I have to say, sadly, this is turning out to be increasingly correct. Even up until now, US and China are still on it, the court and Trump are still on it. And the thing about this, once US starts something, it is easier for other countries to follow suit as well. And you know what? Recently, Mexico slammed China with tariff too. Tariffs are no longer theoretical, guys. They are being used as industrial policy, geopolitical leverage, national security tools. We are seeing US-China tensions, tech restrictions, strategic resource controls, more and more wars, I don't know. So trade wars are not temporary anymore, they are becoming structural, which is something. So yeah, sadly, it has been done. Who knows what may come worse, right? Number 5, China's economic slowdown, slowing domestic consumption, rising unemployment, weak investor confidence. Well, even though China looks good on the outside, people know that they have not returned to the glory days. This is reflected on their market, in which it has not fully recovered yet until now. I would say it is pretty spotty. China is facing weak consumer confidence. Well, their domestic consumption is still pretty low. Property sector issues that have not really recovered. I mean, even the great UOB Bank from Singapore has taken a hit in the Singapore market. Youth unemployment, yeah, this is still a thing. The youth still refuses to work, or they be having a hard time getting a proper job. Cautious foreign investment, which is the consequence. I mean, this is probably the biggest obvious one, because as long as all the stuff not solved yet, the risks are still there within the country, foreign investors are not going to invest in it. That's like pretty obvious, I guess. This doesn't mean collapse though, but it may have big implication for our Asian countries. But regarding the prediction itself, well, it has to be a solid one, I have to say. Number 6, inflation and interest rates. Now, this is a super interesting one. Let's start with Singapore. Singapore is having a great rate. I mean, the inflation rate has been low, the interest rate too is alright. But these matters seem to be probably a thing in the US. I mean, it has been a year and these matters are still being tracked like a hawk by everybody. That includes me. I don't think I've ever tracked them this closely in the past, guys. And here's the thing, tariffs have been set, and I would even say proven to be putting pressure on inflation, right? But the data has been showing differently, though the Fed had said that the result is increasingly coming in. But who knows, right? Even the recent November 2025 data had raised eyebrows among the experts. 2 cuts were then expected, but turns out there's like what, 3 cuts now? This is pretty in line, I have to say. Inflation was predicted to be around 2.5%. Guess what? The headline now sits at 2.7%. The verdict, I have to say, this is one of the strongest calls, and they are slightly inaccurate simply because the results so far have been, better than that. I mean, we all know how the Trump's team are so onto this every time, so don't be surprised when data shows otherwise. But again, does it feel sus? I'll leave it to you. Number 7, strong US dollar. Okay, I would just say this is true initially because a lot of other countries suddenly had their currencies becoming weaker against the US dollar. But if you are from Singapore, this one may be not so much. Well, I have to say SGD has in fact been very resilient, but generally USD dominance remains real. I mean, we all can see how the de-dollarization process hit the headlines hard sometime in the middle of this year. Yeah. Number 8, market volatility. Markets running up, investor caution, more market parked on the sidelines. This one though, I have to say it has been not right. I mean, there has been a sudden downright movement in the market, but if you look at them now, they look more like a pullback instead of a crazy volatility. But of course, it is thanks to Trump's tweets and posts and reaction. Nonetheless, the markets have been going up and up and up. After all, a lot of it now is just controlled by the sentiment, which all depend on what Trump says and does. Though I have to add, at this moment, it is increasingly looking fragile, with more people saying it is gonna be a bear market in 2026, but who knows, right? Because the big boys are staying very bullish in 2026. So perhaps it's just a front. Who knows? Leave your comments down below. Number 9. Geopolitics, commodities, supply chains, tech war. These were grouped as secondary risks, and they have been increasingly correct, with more geopolitical conflicts and those that remained unresolved. Supply chains seem to be rewired very slowly, I have to say, to the point that nobody has been talking about it. But from how tariffs goes and how countries kind of rewire their relationship with other countries, yeah, it seems like so. Tech wars are intensifying, especially the GPU semiconductor side. It's just insane, guys. I believe everybody just wanna live peacefully, but what do we know? What do we know? The people who govern us seem to have different thinking. Number 10. Emerging market risks. Big powers fight, weaker economies suffer. The verdict? Yes, especially in the beginning when things started to happen. This mainly because emerging markets are exposed to capital outflows, strong USD, higher borrowing costs, trade disruptions. Unfortunately, I have to check this as a yes. Alright, final takeaway then. So, were these predictions right? Surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, most of them were directionally correct, but not in a dramatic headline-grabbing way. What we are seeing instead is slow constant pressure, structural shifts, prolonged uncertainty. Not a crash, not a boom. Even though there is a pullback, it will return in a relatively short period of time. However, we are also seeing a more complex, fragmented global economy that is getting more and more apparent now, sadly, again. For Singapore, that means adaptability matters, margins matter, risk management matters. But I have faith in our government. And for individuals, cost of living pressure may stay longer, volatility can be the new normal, which I hope not. Personally, I don't always believe in predictions, but after seeing this, I may want to start taking them more seriously now, although still with a pinch of salt, or a big pinch of salt perhaps. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching, folks, especially when you have been watching up until this point. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, do leave a like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe as well. Stay nimble, folks, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.